I think my initial reaction was just how beautiful he was. I just thought he was one of the most gorgeous things I'd ever seen. Yeah. And he was just almost had personality and character right away.
Some of my favorite things would be when he sneezed.
Yeah.
Because he didn't just sneeze once. He literally sneezed 10 times in a row. And at the very end, he'd go, after every time. That was really cute.
Yeah. You could just tell when he was hungry and when he was cold. He wasn't afraid to let you know. He was very vocal. Made a lot of noise. But he slept. When he would sleep, he was just out.
Zane passed away, I would say, technically, January 23rd of 2010. I got up because Zane was crying and Erik had to work in the morning, so I got up with him like I always do. I fed him and changed him, and I took him upstairs and sat on the couch with him and just held him in my arm over here. And just a little while later, I just remember looking over at him, and he wasn't moving. And I just got really panicked. I tried to wake him up, and he wouldn't wake up. And I just picked him up, and I carried him downstairs. Said, "Erik, Zane's not breathing." And that's probably not a great way to wake up. I just remember him jumping, "What? Call 911." And I was on the phone with the ambulance right away. And
Melissa and Joey were out waiting for the ambulance. I was doing CPR, performing CPR on Zane, and Sammy was there and, witnessed that. And I remember weeks later watching her do the same thing to her baby doll. And
she was doing CPR?
Right. And saying probably the same thing I was saying, "Oh God, oh God." And I think that's when I realized that she'll never forget it.
When Zane stopped breathing, they sent him to the hospital, obviously, and from there they sent him by helicopter to Wichita. They got his heart started again, so in my mind I thought, oh, he's going to be okay. And that wasn't the case, but we didn't know that. When we were in the hospital with Zane, we were there for a couple days, and they had to run different tests to see if there was any blood left in his brain. And they did a test, and there was a little bit of blood left in there. So I just remember just praying for some kind of miracle that he would wake up, because he was on life support. His heart was working as long as the machine was breathing for him, but his brain wasn't working. It was like a light switch. It just shut off. Once it goes off, it just never comes back on again. And I guess I was praying for a miracle. And I just remember singing to him while we were there. I sang, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." And I really believed God was going to make a miracle happen and let him wake up when I found out there was just that little bit of blood in there in his brain. But I knew too when I looked at him and raised his eyelids, he wasn't there. He was already gone. So in order to do what they needed to do, we'd have to wait another 24 hours to repeat the test. So we had to decide to take him off life support and let him go. I remember in the room when we pulled him off, we held him we sang praise to God. I remember Erik lifting him up to the sky, just giving him to God. And I held him until he got cold. And then I had to give him back. And then it's just like, now what do we do? Just get in your car and go home now.
I'd be a liar if I said I wasn't angry at God when we were at the hospital while we were still waiting. I just remember thinking that it wasn't right. And that God must not hear me. I know the thing is, I was angry with God, but I knew He was there. I knew He was there with us. We were surrounded by our family the whole time.
Good friends.
Yeah. When we knew it was over, and we took him off the life support, I just remember this I don't know, almost a primal ripping.
Walking away from him and walking down that hall was, I think, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I've lost family members, sibling, parent. Nothing can even touch the hurt of losing Zane.
I started seeing God at work almost right away after Zane died. And maybe even more importantly, I started to feel God at work in me in ways that are maybe hard to put into words, except that I knew that right away, as soon as he died, although I was torn, I also had a peace. And I knew that peace came from God. I knew that peace came from the prayers of all the saints around us. And I think what that meant to me is that I knew that God hadn't left me. We had both, in our lives prior to being married, had some struggles and some hard times, and there were doubts in my mind. Not that God loved me. I knew He still loved me, but I thought He had removed Himself from me in some ways. I didn't feel Him like I once did. And after Zane died, I knew He was there, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. And I knew He wasn't just there with us, but that He was there with me. He loved me. When we lost Zane, in my opinion, God stepped in. And He became the glue that held us together. They say that these things either drive you apart or they pull you together, and thank the Lord, in our case, I think it's pulled us together. I think we're closer now than we ever were before. And that's only because of God. There's no other thing that could have done that. I think he used Zane's life to heal relationships too.
Yeah.
There were some relationships that prior to Zane's birth, were just, for lack of a better word, just broken. They were just broke. And after he came, it was pretty amazing to watch the healing that came about, that transpired. And I think it had everything to do with him. God had a plan for him, in his life and his death. It's taught me that every moment of our lives is important. Everything that we have gone through has been important. Every year of our life is important. 8 weeks is so important. That 8 weeks that he was here, he did amazing things.
He touched more people in 8 weeks than I probably did my entire life.
Yeah, but every moment of our lives is important. This moment right now is important, and we shouldn't let those moments pass us by, thinking about things that we ought to do instead of doing them.
Through Zane's life and his death, I read and I read and I read, and I hung on with a death grip to God. And the verse that stands out more than anything in my life, I just want to bless his name no matter what happens, in good times and bad times. And Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. They are plans to prosper you, not to destroy you, but to give you a future and a hope." And I know that's what's happening in our lives. I know he's working. I can see it. I can feel it. And I just want Zane's life. I want other people to look at that. And I want other parents that may have experienced this to see that there is a hope, there is a purpose. And I want other parents to know about S.I.D.S so that they can be aware. I want them to know what could happen, not what will happen, but what could happen, and what they can do about it, and how they can help fight against it. I think about everything that's happened. I have a peace because I know that when Zane went to sleep in my arms, he got to wake up with Jesus. How much more could you want for your child if they were to go than to go like that? I have all the peace in the world because I know he went from me right to God. So I'm blessed that way. That's what Zane has done for me. It's given me a hope. It's brought me closer to God. It's opened my eyes to see how real it really, really is. Without a doubt, I know he's there. Not one doubt in my mind. And I just want as many other people to know that as possible in my lifetime, so that maybe someday I can make that same impact on somebody that he did while he was here. I want God to use me now. Use this situation, this horrible, painful situation, to glorify him. I want people to see that. I don't want them to say, "Oh, there's Erik and Melissa, I feel sorry for them." I want them to see the hope that we have because of what's happened.